Welcome to another episode of Convention Confessional. My name is Katy Hunt, and I'm here to guide you through the good, the bad, and the ugly of convention gems. And it's October. It's my favorite month. It's the best month because it's Halloween month, but it also means time for like super spooky, scary stories and scary movies and scary life events in podcast world. Because what else would you do if you had a podcast platform? Talk about like rainbows and bunnies. That's for the springtime. We're in October now. And here with me to talk about spooky convention and festival things is Ryan. Hi, Ryan.
Hey, I'm back. You just can't get rid of me. I'm
I
like the
know.
herpes that won't go away.
Third time's a charm.
You know that's not true. You're stuck with me.
I know I am.
Also, I was very good and I did not interrupt your intro there, but I was laughing really hard.
Just mute your microphone real quick.
No, I didn't even mute. I just held it in like I did back in the days that we'd be on stage, and I'd be like, okay, I cannot laugh at this thing that Katy just said right now, so I have to like turn around away from the microphone. I've got practice. I've gotten good at this.
Right. Years of experience.
You know what else is great about October though?
What?
My birthday.
It is your birthday.
I'm a Scorpio baby, October 28th.
And you were almost a Halloween kid.
I mean, I basically am, because usually when it's like the weekend of my birthday, you have the choice to do something for your birthday party or go to a Halloween party, and that always got mixed into one for me growing up. So it was like, to me, Halloween is on my birthday because that's what it feels like.
Well, to me, it's been Halloween since yesterday. So bye, summer.
Yeah, but it can't be
2
Halloween
months.
in July. July's too early for that.
Yeah, no. That's Christmas, obviously. Duh.
Oh God.
No, we wait till the turkey month to start Christmas because apparently we forgot that Thanksgiving's a thing.
No, people start putting out the Christmas stuff in the middle of Halloween, and it really bothers me. Like, it makes me actively angry because I'm like, can I just enjoy this? This is my favorite holiday.
Right, exactly. It's just like put Santa away unless he's bleeding and has a severed head. I don't want to see it.
Yeah. What's wrong with like haunted houses that are Christmas themed? That would be great.
We tried it once at a haunted house we had at the restaurant, and it did not go well.
What happened?
The parents were very disgusted with us having bloody Santa Claus and elves that were eating people, and
That's great. I love that. We did something like that for when I worked at Evan It's Evil. We did a photo shoot for the holidays that was like Santa's workshop, or in the living room of one of the director's houses. And we had the tree up, and Michael Myers was like standing outside the window. We had like Santa Claus bloodied up in a suit, and Mrs. Claus had like a hatchet. It was great.
the most wonderful time of the year.
Yeah, right.
So, this month we're trying to go around spooky conventions and festivals and Rock and Shock and things like that. And you said that you've been to some horror festivals before, my dear?
I have. I've worked at one horror convention consecutively for 3 years, but it was like in junction with the haunted house that I worked for. I have a history with like working at horror cons for haunts. So I guess backstory for your listeners is that like I've been working in the haunted house scene since I was a teenager, because I used to build haunted houses in my parents' yard when I was a kid. I guess a kid is like not the right word. I was like definitely in my teens. But I did that for like 5 years until I graduated high school. Then I didn't do anything for a few years. Then I worked for this haunt at Lake Compounds in Bristol, Connecticut, that was connected to the theme park, and that was Haunted Graveyard. And I was there for 8 years. I came on through our mutual friend Jess, who got me into doing makeup, and I did makeup the entire time I was there. And some years I would also act as well. And then I was one of the makeup managers towards the end there. I think the last 3 years there I was the assistant makeup manager. Then a bunch of us branched off, and two of the directors from Haunted Graveyard went off and created their own company called Evidence of Evil, who I worked with for 3 years, then kind of haven't been off with in the past couple of years because obviously COVID stopped it. And I was going to work for them this year, but it's been like minimized to a couple days because I, like job work.
What, a job? A real job? No.
Yeah, a real job. Well, I have a lot of functions in life, but I don't live anywhere near there. And the last time I did it, I had to commute down there, and it was about an hour and a half. So I would stay down in Connecticut for the weekend. And anyway, the point being is that I have a lot of experience with the haunted house industry, and because of that, and because of that little story I just told you, where I worked with Evidence of Evil that branched off from Haunted Graveyard, they were that first year that they oh my god, that first year that they started, they were trying to promote the convention. So they had this traveling escape room that was like a horror themed escape room, and the theme was you got blindfolded and you got led around, I don't know, the convention center or wherever we would set up the escape room, and you had no idea where you were, and then you would be brought into this escape room. When I say blindfolded, I mean there's a full hood on your head. So you're getting hooded and like dragged across like you're going through a dungeon. And you basically had to escape the room before the killer came back to kill you. And
Sure.
it was super fast. It was like 5 minutes. The whole thing was maybe 10, 15 with all the walking around that they did beforehand just to really confuse you and disorient the people going through the escape room. But they basically set up this thing where you had to get out within like 5 minutes of it starting, and it would be like sheer chaos. And it was supposed to make like, it was an easy puzzle to solve, but like most people couldn't solve it because the adrenaline and like the fear that was being created would make them not be able to do it. So we had like people banging on the walls, we had the killer screaming outside. um Myself and a few others were in the inside of it, like as other people that were being held captive, and we were like hiding. So if somebody lifted up like a sheet, I'd be under it or whatever, and come out screaming and start banging on shit, trying to escape and throwing their shit around. It was great. um and so they brought it to a few other haunts and other places. So we like went down to the one that was at Beardsley Zoo. Oh my god, I'm blanking on the name of it, but run by my buddy JT when he was still doing that. I think it was called Howling, because animals, zoo, like howl. Yeah, right.
Ah.
And then we did one at the one that was at the cornfield up in northern Connecticut. I forget what that one's called. I only was there for that. But the first year that they did that, they worked with the Connecticut Horror Fest, which was the convention that was like horror oriented in southern Connecticut. So the first year we did this, it was in an actual convention center. And the last 2 years that we did it, which we'll talk about those, was at the Danbury Ice Arena, which is really interesting to see them use an ice arena like as a convention function hall, because like they would like obviously take the ice out and
Yeah.
like you put the vendors in there, and it's surprisingly a lot of space that you can do a convention in.
I mean, yeah, like the ice rink over for Rhode Island Comic Con, when they have theirs, they cover the ice over there, and they have all the guests in that side of the Dunkin' Donuts Center down there.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, like it's a lot of space.
It is a lot of space, and plus, if you're really creepy, you sit up in the stands and you watch people all day long.
I mean, people do that at any convention you go to. You don't need an ice arena to make that happen.
Yes, but now you have stadium seating to be a
Oh,
creep.
okay. That's true. There's definitely a lot of those people there.
Yeah.
Okay. So first convention is CT Horror Fest, and we set up the escape room in there. This was like a portable escape room they made that they kept in a warehouse, and it was like it took forever for them to set up because it was genius, but it like everything was paneled to the walls with of like electricity, and I don't know. They are total engineers with this shit. I didn't do that. I my whole role when I was working with that crew, and when I still work with them, has been to direct talent and to sort of recruit actors.
Mhm.
That's my thing. I can't build this like intricate wiring that's going in here. But so it take them forever to set it up. And that first year that they were doing it, I was like, well, just let me know what you want me to do. And they're like, can you just be the victim inside there? So this is before we added other actors, because it was very much like a beta, and it was being used to advertise this new haunt. Fun fact, they are opening up at Lyman Orchards in Middletown, Connecticut this year. If you want to go see them, they're a full-sized haunt now. But this is when they were getting their company off the ground. And so we were advertising at Connecticut Horror Fest. I did get to go around and like see what that was like, the actual convention, but I can kind of talk about that afterwards, because I was literally locked in this escape room for like 8 hours. Lindsay was there, by the way. Because she was there also advertising, and she'd be like on the outside doing all the administrative stuff, having people like sign waivers and shit. but um but anyway, so like I was the victim inside of there, and I was just, I would be found and surprise people and scare them, and I would like cry and scream and drag myself across the floor. I like literally I wrapped actual chains around myself, and I'd be like banging on the walls and the table and screaming at them that they wouldn't live and that they had to get out. And I was just acting like totally like crazy, like somebody that would had lost their mind, basically.
You
Like
know,
it wasn't
typical spook stuff.
Yeah, but this is like a little bit more intense because it looked like I was like had actually been tortured to the point that I like was losing my actual mind. And it was a lot of fun. It was really, 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 really fun. And so so here's how the puzzle worked. There were like a bunch of pieces around the room to like activate things. And I can't remember exactly how it was, but there was like a key you would have to find, something was in the clock. You'd have to find batteries for a flashlight that you would first you would find the flashlight, then you would have to find the batteries for the flashlight, then you would have to find like the batteries to this other thing, and then eventually the flashlight would be a black light and you had to check the walls and there was like codes on the walls, and then the answer for this like sort of like giant tomb in the middle of the room. And by tomb, I mean Tome, where it's like it's a tome, not a tomb.
Right.
So it's like a big spell book. They had to also find a lock where there's a key missing on that. Some sometimes it would be hidden in this like how you could like in this escape room you could like reach into things and like see if there was like a key or whatever. Some of those had shock pads in them, which is sometimes where the key was. In order to get the key, you have to keep on shocking yourself. Um,
Oh,
I mean, like it's not like a shock pad that would actually hurt you, but it's jarring.
yeah, because you're just
And
like, what the shit was that?
yeah, pretty much like a surprise. And then so they would get that, unlock the tomb, and there's all these sorry, tome, and there was like all these switches on the inside, and if you got the switches right on that, that would unlock the door. And the answer was were on the wall if you use the black light, but the answers were backwards. So like you had to figure out that the answer that you saw on one wall was actually reflected correctly on the wall across from it. So it didn't some people could figure it out, but a lot of them got like really freaked out because there were people like literally banging on the walls and screaming, and I'm like throwing shit around and saying we're all gonna die and like trying to throw them off. Like sometimes if I felt like that they were getting onto it too fast, I'd be like, that's not where it is, and then like come over here. They would actually believe me. Like, some actor in the room's gonna just tell them how to leave the room. Like, but it was really fun. And I like would drag myself across the room like I had been hurt. And I remember afterwards the owners came in. They're like, "Wow, I like all the blood makeup we added on the carpet." And I looked down at my knees and saw that I had dragged myself so much that I was literally gushing blood all over the room. And I was like, "Nope, that's just my actual blood, guys." I was like,
That's just me.
"It's like a like real effect." So I mean, it was really interesting, and I really loved doing it. And we like worked with Connecticut Horror Fest to make it happen, and like they were all really nice people who worked there. So here's what the horror stories of year one started is. So there are always rival haunts, like there are rival conventions, and just it's like so similar to the convention scene with how these things work. Like either these conventions get along, or you have these other conventions that will do anything they can to like take any other convention out, and it's just like that in the haunt scene. It's like either there's mutual respect happening, or there's just like a haunt that's just trying to like destroy everyone in their path. And so
Right.
a couple of those haunts were there representing at their booths, and they came, and like there was one group that was so bad that I like literally got up and I was like running out of the room, and I couldn't get the door open because the guy who was playing the killer at the time, Curtis, was leaning against it until I just pushed him out of the way. And he was like, "What the fuck's happening?" And everybody's just standing there looking at me, like the whole staff. They're like, why aren't you in the room?" I'm like, "Fuck those guys. Those people in there are assholes. I'm leaving." But there was one situation where I did not do that for because it was so complicated. And so it was one of these rival haunts. I won't say which one because I have friends that still work for it. That is, it's not the one I previously worked for. It's not Haunted Graveyard. There's no beef with me in them.
Hmm.
Um, but it's a different one that exists in Connecticut. I don't know how they're doing now, honestly. And they came in and they signed the waivers and everything, and it was like, I know that one of them was a woman. Like I don't know if she was one of the owners or if she was like what she was somebody on like the exact staff of the haunted house. So she came in, and she came in with some of her actors, all girls. So there were no boys. It was like her and some
Her
like
group of
adult
Karens.
teenage girls. Yeah, and some of them were like in their late teens, early teens. None of them really seemed like they belonged in the haunt scene because
A coven
like
of Karens.
no, because but that's what I mean though. What a coven of Karens. Can you even imagine? They'd be like doing like standing in like they wouldn't even be standing in a pentacle. They'd be standing in like a giant line to like
Starbucks.
Yes, with their oh my god, a Starbucks pentacle, and they're like holding it
with
up.
their gym clothes on that they shouldn't be wearing because they're literally not going to the
I
gym. They
know,
just want
and
people to think they do.
they've got like shit from the people that they're trying to like tell off in the middle of it, and they're like doing some voodoo shit on the minute in the middle, and they're screaming up to their gods, being like the ultimate manager who like floats down from above.
Right. I want to see the head manager.
Oh my god! Well, there's that horror movie that came out recently that's supposedly really bad. That is called Karen. That's about like a Karen that also is killing people.
Oh,
I don't know. All I heard about it was that it was terrible, and I have not watched it, but I am
I
intrigued.
mean, it doesn't sound award winning.
No, it just what it sounds like. What it is a bad version of Get Out, which is kind of
Mm.
like don't do that.
Yeah, don't
Um,
do that. Good Out was so good.
Get Out is so good, and like unless you're a person of color, don't do
Mm,
that.
also that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so they come in here and they don't look like they belong at the horror convention, other than they're sporting sweatshirts of their haunted house. Now, people at a horror con are exactly as you imagine them to be. They all look like me in high school and college, which is like gothed out, like wearing like monster stuff or a band that is relatively part of the scene, uh, and or they're dressed up as Freddy Krueger or Michael Myers, whoever you want to be. Those are like
Right.
who you would expect to be there, or
Creepy
they're just got
clowns,
this. Yeah,
doctors, some
yes,
scarecrow.
all
Yeah.
that. Steampunk's actually very in with that scene as well, which is not
Mm-hmm.
surprising because you could do some creepy steampunk stuff. So they didn't look like they belonged there, and they are like, okay, well, we got to find the stuff, and I'm in hiding, and eventually they uncover me, and they don't really react, and I'm watching them in this room while because the other function of playing this part is like if they start doing things they shouldn't be doing, you have to stop them or like end the game. And they start flipping shit over. I'm like not even kidding. They're like flipping tables over. They're ripping shit off the walls. They're like actually destroying the room. And I'm
What?
like getting pissed. And then they're like, because they're trying to find the key. And so they're just like destroy shit. They're literally picking up like jars of glass off the shelves and like throwing them across the room. I mean, they were like mason jars, so they're not gonna really break. But like
Right,
just
but
destroying the room. And I'm like, okay, should I stop this? And like I couldn't, because here's the thing. It's like we were a brand new haunt at the time. And
mhm.
this other haunt was coming in here to literally destroy us before we got ourselves started. So basically, if we kicked them out, if we did anything at all, that would give them a reason to then publicly say that because like they'd be like they kicked us out, and we wouldn't be able to deny that. But there was like no cameras in this room or anything, so they could get away with whatever they want, and then be like, "Oh, we don't know why they kicked us out. They're terrible." The Han and like spread bad information about us all around.
But also they're Karen, so that's what they're good at.
Yeah, I mean, like really, Karens are like crafty as fuck. Like they
Mhm.
are, like there's the really dumb ones that like will go out in public and not recognize they're being recorded, or they do and they like act incorrectly still. But a lot of Karens are pretty fucking manipulative, and they know what they're doing half the time they're getting into it. They're like, okay, well,
Mhm.
nobody can see me get away with this action, and if I could get away with it and they kick me out, then I suddenly have ammunition against them because they don't have proof that I did any of those things. And
Right.
that's exactly what's happening here. So then
Right.
one of them, the woman, the adult woman, by the way, who's corralling these children, right? Like these
Mhm.
girls, they were definitely legal. They were like 18 to 21. But and this pissed me off because like when you are an adult, it is your responsibility, especially if you've got like younger people around you that are easily influenced, to not teach them the wrong thing or lead them into the wrong thing. That always makes me angry. Like,
Oh, you mean be an adult?
well, I mean, yeah, exactly. But we've done conventions, Katie. We would have our shows, and we would bring in these younger actors to participate in events, and it was sort of
Oh,
our job to like set the example. You know what I mean?
because we're the
And
adults.
exactly, exactly. Like if we were like 29 at the time and we had a bunch of 19-year-olds participating in the show, okay, we treated them, we treated each other nicely, and then we treated them nicely. It's like you don't walk in and lead them into creating chaos, which this woman was doing. So then she turns around, she goes, "Okay, you're gonna love this, Katie." She's like, "I bet he has the key. Is it in his pockets?"
Oh no,
And
did
I'm
you get
like,
molested?
"Yes, 100%."
Yes.
And I, what's really funny is like before I came into this, this podcast, I was like, okay, is this something I should talk about in therapy? Did it bother me? The answer is no, because like it didn't really bother. It like it pissed me off, but like it
Right.
wasn't like a full. It wasn't like they grabbed my dick or anything. It just really made me angry at people, and like it doesn't give me anxiety, which means like
Well, the thing
it
is, it's like no matter what, you're doing a haunt, you're doing a show, you're doing anything like that, you do not touch the actors, period.
I know, and maybe you and I have just been conditioned to this behavior from people that like do not understand that you are like a person behind the character, and so it's the same thing with cosplay is not consent. Like people walking
Right.
up and just grabbing you inappropriately or touching you, and it's like
Right.
we're
And if
like
you're doing a haunt yourself, you wouldn't want anybody going up and grabbing any of your actors inappropriately.
why would you like want to do that anyway? Like you're it's trapped in a room with a killer and this dude that's been tortured, and your reaction is to try and grope them. Like what the fuck? Is that how
Eh,
you react to fear? Because that's fucked up.
that's
Anyway, so
fucked up.
so she's like it's in his pockets, and I'm like the keys are not in my pockets. Like starting to stop acting at this point, and they went for it anyway. They're sticking their hands in like all my pockets. They like knocked me to the ground, and like because I'm a pretty strong guy honestly, but like when you have like six women jumping on top of you, it doesn't matter what gender you are. There's six people like on top of you, and they're like reaching into my pockets, grabbing it around. They ripped out my cell phone because I have my cell phone in there and also my camera, like because I was vlogging on the inside.
Sure.
And they were like, is it in the camera? I'm like, no, that's my actual camera. Give it to me. They're like, they were like not going to give it to me. And I was like, if you don't give it to me, there's going to be a real problem. And then they're
Right.
like
Then we're gonna
running
have
around trying to
problems.
check my phone. They're like, well, I can't get him to his phone. So his key's not there. And they're like taking my shit. The woman's like groping around in my pocket. I'm like pushing them away, and they're like, and then they finally get off of me and they start running around the room. And she's like, no, I think they're still in his pockets. And I just screamed at the top of my lungs. Like, and this was a fairly small convention the first year that I was there. And
Right.
like, there's like there was like a little bit of room above the ceiling or sort of the tops of the panels of the walls, and then the actual ceiling. There was no ceiling to the actual escape room. We just used the ceiling there, and so
Yeah.
you could hear us from the outside. I screamed so loud the entire convention center just suddenly heard me scream, they're not in my fucking pockets, get the fuck out of my pockets. And like Lindsay's outside and she's like, the fuck is going on in there? And so like then it ends, they all leave, and they're like, what the hell was all that? And I was like, okay, so it was those assholes from the other haunt, and come look what they did to the room. Just come look. And like Dave and Bobby who run the thing were just like, holy fuck. Like they didn't know what to say. And Lindsay's like, okay, let's reset. And I was like, we're all saying the resetting, and I'm telling Lindsay what's going on. She's like, dude, that's fucked up. And I was like, I know. She's like, you should have come and gotten us. I'm like, if I had done that, they would have said the opposite. They would have said like I did something. They would have said that like we kicked them up for no reason. They would have said we harassed them. But since that we didn't react in the way, like basically it's like they were trying to create a reaction. That's what they wanted.
Right.
They wanted
See,
to
that's the
like
problem
get
is
us
like
riled up.
in the moment, you should have just like slowly taken your phone out of your pocket and at least like hit record on it.
I had
Like
two
even if you
cameras on me, Katie, and I didn't do that.
I know, because I'm like, even then, like, even if there wasn't any like visual of it, you could have heard them and you would have heard you being
I
like,
know.
don't touch
I
me.
know that. I know that. And like honestly, I didn't even think about that, but I had ways to record this at the time and I didn't even think about it because I was like it was so
Well,
reactive. And you know, I managed Kineticon for like 2-3 years there, and like I know what to do in these scenarios, but it's very different when you're in this particular situation. And I just was like getting angrier by the second. But you're right. I should have just done that. That would have like resolved this whole situation. But
oh
I
yeah,
didn't. I didn't. So they left and they were awful. I took a break after that. I'm like, yeah, I need like 10 minutes. Like, I'm
a
gonna eat some
cigarette break.
food. And like, yeah, pretty much. And like, and I think I just shot the shit with Lindsay. And I was like, I'm not upset that they did this to me, which I should be. I'm just kind of like really mad that they did this specifically to get a rise out of us, and
Oh yeah,
specifically Bobby and Dave to like make them flip out, and they didn't. Because I'm like, they would have done that if I'd come out and been like, these bitches be molesting me. Like he will look for a reason to kick people out because he has zero tolerance for like any kind of harassment. Like when we did
hundred
the
percent.
other haunt, yeah, because when we did the actual haunts, when somebody came in there and tried to like harass one of our black actors, she was like, get the fuck out of here and don't ever come back to this property again. Like he is
Yeah,
not he like no shits. Like wish there were more people that ran conventions that way. But
same.
so like, and I'm like, if I came out of that would have been his reaction, and then they would have been like, oh, they did this to us, and like blah 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 blah, and like really would have created a bigger scene and would have gotten like a rise out of us in a way that would not have been helpful. So it was just awful. And I thankfully that's like there's other pieces of the story and doing convention stuff for Halloween, but that is, at least for that piece of the story, is not terrible. I mean, it's not, that's the most terrible that it's gonna get. So I
Mhm.
took a break eventually, and I walked around and got to the other convention. I think, um, what's his name was there? I'm gonna
Yeah, you know
Google
that
this.
guy.
Yeah. I'm blanking. Hold on.
Oh, what's his name? That's my favorite guy.
No. My favorite. Georgie Romero. I think he was there. So,
Mhm.
and I remember Dave being like, I got to go see that guy before he like dies. Uh, but because he'd be old, and I was walking around and ran into like this other special effects artist, Tyler Green, who he was on Face Off for the Halloween edition. He's been on it a few different times, the reality
Mhm.
TV show, and he had come and trained us over at Haunted Graveyard. Well, not trained us, but he had come and done like demos for like our makeup artists there, and sort of taught them how to use airbrushes and stuff, which was really cool. And he was like, "Oh, hey, Ryan." And I was like, "Oh my God, I don't even know how to react to this right now," because like this was like 10 seconds after being molested by like a group of like women. And like, I'm just like, I think he might have been flirting with me. I think every single time I saw him, he was flirting with me. He might listen to this later and be like, "Dude, you read that wrong." But I also like am bad at checking. Like people will flirt with me directly, and I'm like, they seem really nice for some reason. And anyway, so like it was really like awkward, but not because of him. It was because I was just in an awkward place. But it was really cool because like it was just, they had all these different things set up. I saw some of my other makeup artist friends, like Kaylee was there, and Katy. I think there was a whole bunch of there's a few different people, and it was just really cool to like kind of catch up with everyone. Uh, and it's what you would think, but I didn't really get to see it that year until it was the next year that I went that I really got to see it. Um, so any thoughts about that before I move on to the next chapter of this story?
No, that I mean that was a pretty clear. I did a haunted room, and these people from a rival convention molested me, and I hate them. And I hope that
I think,
their stupid horror haunt is awful, and people trash everything at it
yeah,
because you
they
upset my
deserve it.
friend. You
Oh my
deserve it.
god.
You upset my friend.
Oh
Don't
my god.
ever talk.
Piece of
Don't
shit.
ever talk to me or my son ever again.
My son. The second year was much better when they moved it to the ice arena. I feel like it fit better because I felt like it was so small. By the way, at the last place we were at, we had to take down the escape room at the end of the day and shuffle it out of the freight elevator that everybody was using. And there were like 18 pieces. So we had to go up and down that thing like 18 times there. And we were there until like midnight. It was such a
Mhm.
convention situation. Like, if you want to talk about like convention stuff, the breakdown of like the vendor's room.
Oh
Oh
my
my
god,
God.
I
Yeah.
can't.
Yeah, at least we ended that year nicely because the last group that came through were the people who worked for the convention, and they were like they did the escape room, and they were really nice. There's this one guy who found a pile of shoes that like the killer had collected, and he was like, "I really like these shoes." I'm like, "Dude, those are from Savers and they're props. Like, put those down." But that's
Stop
like,
it.
I was like, like, give me the shoes. um, but yeah, so the second year when they were at the Danbury Ice Arena, it was much better spread out because like they could actually have room with like the different aisles of different vendors. You would be surprised with who vends at them. Like you would have like the regular like horror shops, but there would be like random like comic book people will just be there vending because they're like, well, I'm sure some of these crew are there, but it never really like works
Yeah,
well.
I
I
mean, like I said, like I've never been to a horror convention before, but I always kind of wondered like what the vending would look like there. Like obviously you're gonna have your t-shirt people because they make like spooky
Yeah,
t-shirts, and you'd have your people that make like Halloween or horror-esque like, artist things that you'd want to
yeah, that
buy.
was most of it. That was most of it, and like lots of posters. I mean, like,
Props.
yeah, lots of props. There would be vendors that did the same. Like how you go to like a convention and there's like dealers that have like tables full of action figures because you're at a nerd con. So you're like,
Right.
okay, I'm gonna get
And
some
they'd have like
Power
the action
Rangers.
figures for the bad guys or stuff.
Yeah, and that's like they have the nostalgia stuff. They will have like props and shit from like horror movies.
Mhm.
And people are all over that. There's also like a ton of like Lolita stuff, which unsurprising that was there. Um, but I what they use a lot of their extra space for is really on sort of their guests. So they would have actors there. They did not. Did they have Elvira? I think they had Elvira the year I was there, but I didn't get to meet her because I was working. So I could be making that up. I feel like she was there though. I feel like I didn't know she was there until we were done and she was leaving. I'm like, did I seriously fucking miss Elvira of all people? Because she was like a motherfucking queen.
Well, I mean, I
So
feel like if you can't have a horror convention without having Elvira there at least like once every other year.
it's like the only thing she does, right? Like, is go to conventions as Elvira now. Like, she's not on TV anymore. So
Every once in a while she shows up for like a special appearance in some like spooktacular
like
episode
Hocus
of something.
Pocus. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, she's fantastic. I
I
know
love
that
Elvira.
I think I don't remember if they had Freddy Krueger there. I think they did. I think they had like all these people that I
Oh,
actually would
English
want to
was
go
there?
meet. I think he was. I one of the 2 years that I was there. I don't
Okay.
remember.
Okay.
Um, yeah, because they got some big names there. It's not like Rock and Shock, which is closer to me now. I do have a friend that goes to that every year, and he's like, "It's awesome. You got to go." I'm like, I would love to, but like, it's
Yeah, my best friend and her husband go to that like almost every year. They didn't obviously not last year, it didn't happen, but the year before they went and they oh god, they met what's his face? You know, that guy.
oh my god, we're
Uh,
like killing it today.
I know. This is terrible. I'm like, I'm gonna feel so bad when I don't say his name too. But they like, they met with a bunch of celebrities and stuff. Ash from Evil Dead,
Oh my god. Why am I blanking on his name now?
right? Nah,
You made me forget.
no,
Bruce
Bruce Campbell.
Campbell.
I'm so oh my god. Thank God for editing. Do I leave in
I don't know.
that
I think
he's
it's funny that it's like we're these horror people and everyone's like, do they know their shit or not? Like,
right? It's like no, but yeah, they met Bruce Campbell and with my niece, so they have this picture of them with him, and I'm just like, that's probably the best family photo you've ever taken.
oh my god, that's so funny. Oh my god.
It's so good.
I'm looking at like okay, so they're open this year at CT Horror Fest. They have Matthew Lillard and Skeet Ulrich from Scream, which is awesome.
Oh, that's
So
cool.
yeah, they have Kathy Najimy. She's gonna
Hmm.
be there. You know, from Hocus Pocus.
Yeah.
They actually get like some pretty good names in there. Um, so ironically, um, we had we within our team we have this guy Curtis Spieler who worked for Haunted Graveyard with us, but he came with us to Evidence of Evil and he helped us build like a lot of stuff because he is a uh horror film director. Like he's got stuff you could like go to FYE and you could find his DVDs there. Like he's that level. So so while they were there, they're like, "Hey Curtis, like, do you want to be like one of our guests of honor since you're coming with Evidence of Evil anyway?" So he had to keep leaving to like be on panels and stuff. And it was like really weird. We're like, "Okay, have fun." but but anyway, so like that second year at the Danbury Ice Arena was really fun. So that year they had us come back and do something for them again. They were like they had approached Dave and Bobby about doing zombie laser tag. So it's exactly what you would think. Like, but the Danbury Ice Arena, they were like, okay, so we're gonna give you this room, and it was like I don't even know, like a warehouse room they had. It was not like an actual room, but it was very good for what we needed to be. Like, because like it was just this big empty warehouse space, so it really did look like a zombie apocalypse room. And it was upstairs from the ice arena, so we got to have like private seating up there too, because we'd have like the upstairs um what is it what the bleachers up there, but they're not connected. It's kind of like sitting up on the balcony and looking down at the ice arena, which was really fun
Oh,
because
like
I
the
got a lot
box
of,
seats.
yes, so those where I would be. And like that's where we'd take our breaks.
Nerds.
So we'd be zombie. It'd be really funny because like the people down in the ice arena, they would all get tickets to come do our like zombie laser tag thing, and they would look up and see us up on the bleachers, like up on the deck, like being there taking our break, like eating some like fucking Cheerios and stuff. Or like the zombies that just chased you around to scare the shit out of you were like just casually upstairs eating some food. But we could like see everything from there, so we could see all the actors and guests of honor do their panels or whatever. We could see all these cool costumes and the type of cosplay that you see at these events. I mean, obviously, like you'll have like the straight up monsters. Like you'll have like Freddy Krueger will be there. You'll have Michael Myers. You'll have Jason Voorhees. Like whoever. There's always like 1,000 ring girls. Like everybody wants to be the chick from the Green. Um,
Yeah.
but like what you'll also see are like these like really huge elaborate costumes, kind of like when you go to conventions and people will like create like the Transformers or whatever. But these are just like self-made horror characters. Like there's a
Hmm.
lot of original cosplay and then a lot of like big ass like clunky like I've got a face melting off and also have like I look like the chick from the Dark Crystal collecting trash basically. um like you'll just get these like wild and crazy costumes. That was really cool to see because I couldn't see that the year beforehand when I was locked in a room. Like at least in between our shows, I was able to go and sit out and watch this. But anyway, so this whole room, Dave and Bobby and everybody had like they put up curtains and shit. They put up like boxes, and so the people who came in, they had like I don't know. 10 minutes, I think, to find all the items to get out, like survival items like pliers, a med kit. There was like a vaccine needle. It was basically 2020,
Mm.
like we predicted it. And it was really kind of interesting and cool. And we put these, the pieces that you would put on yourself to get like shot with the laser. They had these like headpieces, so we have them on our heads instead. So the only way you could kill us is if you got a headshot. Um, and so we like all like burst out of stuff. Some people be hiding in lockers or boxes. And when we got shot, it would like signal us. So we'd hear the noise that we got shot, and then we'd have to go down and like
Right.
pretend we died. And then we'd hear noise that would be like, whoop, and that meant that we were recharged and we could get up again. So like we were like endless zombies basically.
Yeah.
Um,
Because I mean, you only got like a few in there. Just gotta keep
yeah,
roundhousing around. Yeah.
yeah. I was the runner zombie, which despite all the stretching I did, because we did this for 8 hours straight, where I would just like, I would fall on the ground, then leap up and run at people because it would be harder for them to shoot me. And there was only one of me doing that. The next day, Katie, I swear to God, I couldn't move for 2 days. I got up the next morning and I was with my ex at the time. I was like, you got to take the dog out. I'm not getting out of bed. I like physically cannot get out of the bed right now. But it takes a lot out of you. Like if you just dropped yourself to the ground, get up and run every 10 seconds for 8 hours straight, turns out. But it was a lot of fun. And I really loved it. There was one girl who was in a trash can on the first go, and I didn't see her because I wasn't wearing glasses and I was just running, which this is before Katie and Ryan got contacts. Like, again, except now it's like in the dark.
Don't even blame it on that. You could run into a whole wall next to you. I don't want to hear it.
It was also dark.
I have watched you.
I couldn't see.
I have watched you in our time together trip over yourself and fall. I don't know how many
hard.
times.
Are you Matt? Oh my God! I'm like, I just called you Maddie because she says the same shit. Yeah. I was running around blind though, and there was a girl in the trash can that was one of the zombies, and I like full on kicked her in the head, and she was laughing about it. I was like, "I'm sorry, I did not see you there." It was Curtis's girlfriend at the time. They're now engaged, and she gets out and he walks over. He's like, "Oh yeah, I forgot to like mention that Ryan's like really intense, so like don't go near him when he's acting."
Right. He's a hazard. Watch out.
Yeah. So that was fun. We did that, but I remember looking at the room at one point, like halfway through the day when we had a break, and I was looking into it, and there was lights hitting the dust, and I was like, "That's a lot of dust in there. That's a lot of dust in there." I was like, "Dave, how dusty is that room? Like, what is in there? What are we breathing?" And we're like, "We think it's dust."
It's asbestos.
It probably was, honestly, but like, all I remember was at the end of the day, I was like, I think a lot of us are not going to be feeling well for the next few days, and like everybody was sick. Like it was definitely like something was not good in that room. We were fine at the time, but like when you breathe that much with it, because we weren't wearing filters or anything, we were running, tossing all the dust up, then rolling around on the ground. Like it was gross. It was really, really gross. So
Nice.
I definitely don't
Nice.
recommend that.
No.
Yeah. The final year that we were there, we set up the escape room again, but like just for people to walk around and just take pictures and stuff with, and to promote the haunt, because it was the first year that the haunt had gone from like an escape room into a full-on haunted house.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, no, okay. So the first year it was an escape room that traveled and promoted it, and then the escape room landed the second year just in one place for the whole Halloween season.
Right.
And then that was at Crystal Bees in Southington, Connecticut. And then the third year, it was still at Crystal Bees, but it was like a full haunt in the back. It was short, but it was like a real haunt. And we were promoting it then. And that was like the first year I got to actually go around and like look at everything. Like I was promoting the haunted house, but I was able to go and look at the shit. Katie, there's so many pins at haunted house. I mean, sorry, like at haunt conventions. Like it's very much like, yeah, there's a lot of the younger generation there going to the con because they're into like current horror shit, and like horror kids will always be horror kids. Like there's a reason
Right.
why we keep regenerating, but like it really is kind of like a time warp. It's like for us kids that were like punk rock goth kids in the 80s and 90s, but like grown up, were there,
Mhm.
like, there were more adults than there were kids, and, like, some families would come with their kids, like the punk rock dads that have become dads and, like, become a little bit more, like, level-headed or whatever over the years, and they're there with their kids, and they're, like, trying to convince the kids to, like, get into, like, the spooky we had, like, a guillotine set up. We're like, "Put your head in there," and they were, like, screaming and crying, the dads are like,
Go
"It's gonna be
stand with that
awesome."
go stand with that blood-covered zombie. Let me get a picture. It's like, "No, no."
Some kids were really about it, and other kids were like, "Why the fuck are we here? Like, I don't understand why this is cool to you, dad."
Mom,
And,
why do we
like
have to go to the weird thing dad wants to go to?
yes. Oh,
I wanna
there were
go to
also
Disney.
I mean, like, this is close enough. Like, does Pennywise count as Disney World? I don't know.
I don't think
There were
that's
all well, probably not, but there were also, like, a lot of, like, actual witches set up there so you could get tarot done and stuff like that. So it's like it was very much that kinda crowd.
okay,
Um,
okay.
but, like, all I remember is, like, there being, like, lots of guys wearing their punk rock clothing from, like, 1985 there, and I was like, "Holy shit." Except they're, like, now 50. And, like, that is, like, such a huge chunk of the horror convention scene. And then there's a bunch of people our age who were, like, wearing their goth shit from when they were teens, because that's when goth was still in. And then there was, like, a little bit of the emo crowd, but not really. Like, it was very much like a goth convention, but really specifically from the era of, like, the '80s and '90s
Like, kinda like
horror
you, like,
scene.
step back in time almost.
Yeah, but, like, and there wasn't, like, a lot of current shit. Like, there was, like, some Pennywise stuff because I think that was right before it came out
Right,
again.
and honestly, like, even if it's, like, a different clown, like, from the original I mean, that's one of those Stephen King things that just doesn't go away. I mean, there's
No.
the classics, there's always the classics, The Shining, It,
Yeah.
Pet Sematary, like
You get kids writing red rum on the walls.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
yeah,
exactly. Good times.
it was. And, like, I mean, it brings you back, Katie. Like, it's if you're a big horror fan, like, it's not it's not a lie. Like, the best horror shit that we've created in the past 100 years have been in the '80s and then, like, kind
Oh,
of the
yeah.
'90s.
Oh, yeah.
Um Sometimes we hit something now that is, like, really fantastic and cool. We're like, "Oh, that's awesome." But, like, I mean, I cannot think of a horror film now that has stuck with me like any of that shit did from back then. And it's not even because, like, I'm holding on to it because of our age and our generation. It's just like, no, there actually hasn't been, like, a significant horror film like any of those were back then. Like, except for, like, Paranormal Activity, I guess, which are not good.
No.
Not the horrors
Well,
necessarily
the
good.
the
We've
guy
had
who's,
Get
like
Out.
he who has stepped it up is the person you didn't expect to step it up and write horror films is, Key. The guy from Key and Peele.
Oh, yeah.
Because he wrote Us, which was creepy and awesome.
Okay,
He
Us
wrote
was, like,
he
the first thing in a long time that I was like, "This is the kind of vibe that I've been looking for."
and he wrote, Get Out.
Yep.
That was his first one, and now he's got another one coming out, that I cannot remember the name of right now, but I saw a preview poster for it, and it's something to do with, like, a haunted cloud, and it's like, honestly, I'm in. I don't know what this movie's about, I don't know
Yeah,
what's
but
going on, but I'm in.
yeah, like, because, you could trust him at this point. Here,
Yeah!
I'm gonna message you. I don't know where I'm gonna send this. I'm gonna send it on Facebook so you can kinda see what the ice arena looked like during this time. Oh, maybe not. Maybe Facebook doesn't wanna open for me right now.
You know what? I won't.
Oh, there it
Fine.
goes. There it goes. But, like, that was kind of the setup of it. But, yeah, I agree with you. Like, I mean, like, Us and Get Out were really good, but I feel like we're doing the same thing that, like, other film does now, where we're just kind of rehashing just stuff that worked a long time ago. So we're, like, revisiting the Halloweens, which, of course, we're gonna go see those because, like, who does not wanna see that?
Right.
But,
I will
like,
see it in the comfort of my own home. I will not go to a movie theater to see it.
yeah, like, I mean, I'll find a bunch of, like, weird indie horror stuff that I'll love and go see it in theaters or watch it on a streaming service. I'll be like, "Wow, that was awesome," but you'll never hear about it again. It's not like we don't have, like, those iconic characters anymore being made, like Pinhead or Chucky or Michael Myers or Elvira, Freddy Krueger, Jason Voorhees, like, they're not being created anymore. So, like, that's why when you go to one of these conventions, it really kind of, like, gains an older crowd. Um but I don't know. I would love to see it expand. I mean, I would love to see horror make a big comeback in the way that it used to be.
Same.
Oh my god, I just saw. I'm looking through pictures of this to be like, this is what it looked like. And I just found pictures of my friends online. So yeah, I don't know
I just found out a second ago, Rock and Shock isn't around anymore.
what happened.
It gave up before the pandemic. I just went in to be like, oh, I wonder when Rock and Shock is this year, so I can make an announcement about it. And as of January 17th of 2020, they are not a convention anymore, and they were one of the biggest ones in Massachusetts.
I think I do remember hearing about this now that you say that, and I can't remember if it had something to do with the pandemic, just like making it so they couldn't.
No, no, they did. They were done, but it said nothing about pandemic in their thing. They're just
Wow,
gone. Well, that's sad.
that's sad.
That's 15 years of Rock and Shock, man. Like, damn.
Yeah, really, like that was like a whole era for us.
What a sad note to end on. But it's
I know.
Halloween, so
It is
yay!
Halloween, spooky tooky time.
Spooky dooky
Yeah,
time. Thanks, Ryan, for coming on and talking spooky and all that.
getting molested.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Is molestation spooky? No, it's actually terrible. Don't do it.
Yeah,
Like,
like the life lesson in all of this podcast is don't be that person. Like, don't
yeah,
be a dick and don't touch actors. Consent and don't touch people.
yeah.
It's
Also,
rude.
like, if that ever happens for you, do say something. Don't do what I did and like just kind of take it
Oh
because
yeah,
like
make a scene. Make a huge
yeah,
scene.
yeah, make a huge scene. And I made the mistake of being like, no, I'm going to protect the company. Which I mean, I was being loyal, and like it's not like their fault for anything like that. But like, don't let people take advantage of you like that. Like, if they're like fucking touching you or doing shit they should not be doing, like if you're an actor in a show, especially a haunted house or at a convention, like don't let people fucking touch you. If you
Yeah,
say no and
yeah,
they don't respect that, and they're like, oh well, their character, they're not real. Like, yeah, get them kicked out.
yeah,
Just do it. That
yeah,
is my hot tip.
yeah.
Yeet them.
Ryan, did you want to promote anything while you're here?
Yeah, I've got a couple things. I've got my podcast, which is an X-Men podcast, The Mutant Ages. Even though I'm like not doing a good job at explaining it right now, but The Mutant Ages is an X-Men podcast, is where my best friend Maddie and I go back and rewatch and consume any piece of X-Men media that is not the comic books, and we relate it to the comic books, and we break down the queer coding of the X-Men. And then I also have my YouTube channel, which is Ryan Pagella, and that is just an adventure vlog with a nice highlight on theme parks if you're into that kind of thing. If you're
Woo-woo!
into that.
Is there anything this Halloween season you would like to promote?
I would say go check out Evidence of Evil if you are New England based. They will be located at Lyman Orchards in Middletown, Connecticut this year. They are really great. They're a very good team. They have a solid group of actors and crew and cast members there. I do not know when I will be there, but I told them I would be there a couple nights this year. But yeah, I'm pretty loyal to them. They're fantastic. Go see them. Also, shout out to Trail of Terror because they're all really, really, really cool too out in Southington. So if you're like in that circuit, go if you want to go see two really good haunted houses, I recommend that.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for coming on again, Ryan. I appreciate it. I love Halloween. I know you love Halloween.
I do.
It's the best month of the
Am I gonna
year.
I'm gonna see you or do one of these again in another 3 months probably.
Yeah, right. We'll get back together around like January 1st, where you hate the world because it's snowing out, and I'm like, it's cold.
Not if I'm in Florida, I won't. So there's that.
Oh, there is that. That's true. Well, on that note, have a good night, everybody.
Bye.